How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the House of Horror podcast. I'm doing the intro a little bit differently this week, you guys. I'm doing a little more of a loose, unscripted sort of intro to the podcast here this week. I don't know, just because I wanted to try something new. I'm always trying new things on the show. I hope all of you guys are enjoying all of the videos and podcasts that I've been putting out this month so far. And the month is almost over. Today is the 21st of October. It is a crisp autumn day at 316 Dead End Drive, where the House of Horror is located. The exact coordinates of the House of Horror. So yeah, it's just a nice, beautiful morning here in Ohio. And yeah, I'm having my morning coffee. It's a beautiful day, as I've mentioned. And yeah, we got a good show for you guys today. I have my friend Peri on the show. I've known Peri for about a year now, maybe a little over a year. And we've been wanting to do this podcast for a while now. And we finally got the opportunity to do it. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. And yeah, we're going to get right to the show here in a second. I just wanted to throw a couple announcements out there for you guys. So the House of Horror podcast, not the show, the House of Horror podcast is going to be continuing after October this year. So surprise announcement for everyone out there who is a fan of the show. I'm going to keep the podcast going for a little bit after October wraps up. I don't know, just to have some more consistent content coming out for you guys. Maybe some solo shows, maybe have a few more guests coming on here and there. Just to talk about whatever. And I'm sure Midnight Miles will be on the show a few times to discuss some more films. But yeah, I'm deciding today to continue the House of Horror outside of October. So we'll be having a few episodes coming out. Maybe not weekly, but definitely a couple times a month I want to have some content coming out for you guys. Either interviews, stories, stuff like that. Or like today's episode, we're going to be talking about the paranormal, the unknown, the unexplained. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it. As I said, I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos I've been putting out. I hope you guys have checked out my other episodes of the House of Horror podcast that have come out this year. My interview with my good friend Jenna Kramer, of course, from Hell at Heathridge, and her work on Zombieland Double Tap. Great friend of mine, excellent conversation. Tony Masiello, as you guys know, came out last week on the show where we talk about his website, sovhorror.com. So definitely go and check that out if you are interested in shot-on-video horror, horror films in general, or just someone who's in the industry putting out DVDs and stuff, learn sort of the ins and outs of that. Those were the interviews that have come out so far. Of course, you guys have heard other episodes of the podcast come out, like my top 10 Halloween films and things of that nature. So if you guys haven't seen any of those episodes yet, make sure you go and check those out on YouTube, but also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure wherever you are listening, you are subscribing to the show. If you're on YouTube, give me a thumbs up. If you are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, leave a rating, review. And you can also listen to this on the Anchor app as well. Anchor is the sponsor of the show. So yeah, definitely go check it out on the Anchor app as well. And yeah, so we got this episode coming out, and we have one more interview coming out this month next week. So definitely stick around for that, and you'll have some other episodes here and there of some underrated films and just some other stuff that I feel like talking about this month, man. So it should be a great time. And yeah, as I said, my friend Peri's on the show. Peri and the Paranormal is what we're going with for this episode. And yeah, so we've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, and instead of dragging this intro out any longer, I'm just going to get right to the show, you guys. So yeah, here is Peri and the Paranormal. Alright, so we are in the midst of the spooky season here. Have you been doing anything to like celebrate so far?
I bought some apple cider today, actually. Yeah.
Do you prefer? So I was just on the podcast that came out the week before this. Me and my friend were in a very heated debate on cold and hot drinks.
Oh.
He is not a fan of hot apple cider.
I would agree. I'm not either.
You're not a fan of hot apple cider?
No, I like it chilled.
See, he hates all hot drinks.
Okay, I'm not that dramatic.
So you enjoy a good like pumpkin spice latte, or
actually,
you don't like pumpkin spice either?
I don't like pumpkin spice either. I'm pretty basic.
Yeah.
But I don't like pumpkin spice. I just
Yeah.
can't get on board.
Yeah. Cool. And speaking of pumpkin spice, Pumpkin's coming right up to the microphone. Those of you guys who know Pumpkin on the show, you know she's real shy, but she's taking a liking to our guest today. So yeah, I'm sitting here with my friend Peri. I don't know what we're gonna call the show. Paranormal with Peri, or Peri and the Paranormal, something like that.
I like that.
Something like that, yeah. Because I was thinking, like, I have a bit hard time naming these things, and I was like, oh, well, like, Scary Peri rhymes, but, like, you're not scary, so
No,
maybe some scary things happen to you at some point.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
We will find out. I got some stories.
Yeah, I guess, like, a little background on this. Like, we've been trying to get this going since, like, what, December, I think, was when you, like, first brought this up.
I was like, hey, by the way,
yeah,
this is what happened to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into the conversation here, because everyone's always like, oh, I want to come on the podcast, like, blah, 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 and I'm just like, what do you got to talk about? And then you were like, oh, I got some stuff.
I feel like I'm pretty fitted for this, so.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm excited to get to the conversation here. And, yeah, you've been keeping me in suspense. We've been... Yeah.
I know. Oh
yeah.
my God.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll just get right to it, I guess. I mean, so you grew up in a funeral home?
Yeah.
Like an old funeral home?
Yeah. So, backstory, I actually lived across the street from it, and there was a woman there. Her name is Jackie, and that's very important to remember.
Okay.
And then, so I grew up going to this house. I would, like, go and, like, write chalk on her sidewalk, and she would, like, bring us, like, treats and stuff, like this kind old woman. And so then one day, it was like a really bad winter, and, like, I didn't see her for a while, and I guess she passed away that winter, and I, like, didn't really, like, think much of it. I was like, well, she was really old. So then, a few years later, I was in the 5th grade, and my parents bought the house because it was for sale, and it was a lot bigger than the one we were living in. And they're like, well, we still want to live in the neighborhood, so let's just move across the street.
Seems convenient,
yeah. So this house had been vacant since she passed. Like, her old furniture was there. Like, it's like she never left, basically. And then I, like, didn't know how she passed or anything. Turns out she just had a heart attack in the kitchen and just was there for a few days until her son came. So she passed away in the house, and I guess she lived there for like 40 years, so she like has some attachment to it.
Yeah, right.
So we're like moving in, and I'm like kind of keeping this in the back of my head, and I'm like still pretty young, and we would play in the basement when we were in the process of moving in, because it was the only like room that didn't have like stuff in it. It was like pretty cleared out. So me and my siblings would just like play in the basement while my parents worked upstairs getting the house ready. And you'd hear like some banging, and we were like, oh, that's our parents. And then they'd be like, we like weren't in the house, we were across the street. And we were like, okay, that's like weird, because it was just like my younger siblings, and I was like with them. So we were like, okay. Didn't think much of it. I was like, well, maybe it's like a pipe or something. And I like had no experience with ghosts. I was like, yeah, they scare me, but like I wasn't really allowed to watch anything scary.
Right.
So it was kind of like, oh. And then so we had been living there a few years, like nothing crazy happened. And like here and there you'd like see something out of the corner of your eye, and it was like nothing. But the one day I was like in the dining room, and like the dining room's next to the kitchen. So I'm like on my laptop or something, and I like thought my dad was there, and I'm just like talking, and I can just like see someone going back and forth. And I like looked over, and I was like, why aren't you responding? And like no one's there.
Yeah. And
it was like a clear figure of a man.
Right.
And so then we went, I think my mom had gone to the Cleveland Archives, and that's when we found out that it used to be a funeral home. Because you wouldn't, like, know, but our front door is massive.
Okay.
Like, it's huge. And they're like, my dad's like, that's probably, like, how they got the coffins in and out. Like, that's why there's, like, our rooms are separated by doors. Like, my living room's separated by a door, my dining room separated by doors.
Okay, so, so it's similar to, like, because every funeral home I've been in, they have, like, the areas where, like, you block stuff off if it's, like, a smaller thing, or, like, if you need more space.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So everything's blocked off, and I'm like, this is like kind of getting weird. And so I was like, maybe that's like why I'm seeing people. Like, this kept happening. Like, even when I go to my parents' home now that I moved out, I will, like, still, if I'm alone, like, you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Like, or you will see someone in the corner of your eye and you're like, oh God. So, and it's nothing like, oh, I've never had, like, a bad paranormal experience there. I've definitely had, like, paranormal experiences, but it's nothing like I don't feel safe.
Right.
So, there was one time I was in high school with my sister, and we had just gotten home from school, and we're, like, just laying on the couch, like, TV's not on, like, it's just, like, us on our phones. Mm-hmm. And my dad, like, comes barging in, and he's like, what's going on? Like, stop screaming at each other, like, stop fighting. And we're like, what? Like,
what are you talking about?
He's like, I heard screaming. And then out of nowhere, everything on our mantle just brushes off and it's like someone took their arm across it and just pushed everything off.
In front of everyone that was there.
In front of everyone. And I was like, oh. I was like, there's no way it couldn't have been, like, everything was, like, leaning against the wall. Like, we had pictures, we had, like, candles, just all, like, got brushed away.
Yeah, because one of the things I was going to ask, because you had told me that you had, like, seen stuff when it's always, like, because, like, I guess a little background on me, my entire family claims that my house is haunted. And they said, oh, we see, like, this lady in, like, period clothing, like, walking around and stuff. I've never seen anything. So that's just always something, like, I don't know, people are, like, more susceptible to it or what. But one of the things I was going to ask is, like, is it just you that's seen this stuff, or has it been the whole family? But now it's clear that everyone has seen it. If a whole mantle of stuff's getting thrown in front of everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, whoa. Like, that was, like, probably my first, like, big paranormal, besides, like, seeing things. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And how old were you at the time?
I was in high school, so I was probably, like, 15.
Okay.
So I'm, like, mature enough to know, like...
Yeah.
Like, this isn't my imagination making it up.
Yeah.
And, yeah, my sister and my dad were there, and we're all just kind of, like, frozen in fear. So we, like, pick everything back up, and we're like, okay, like... we don't know if it's Jack, because we call whatever's going on Jackie, because she was the previous owner. She died in the home. Right. So we're like, oh, it's Jackie. So, like, when you hear footsteps upstairs, it's Jackie. When you see someone, it's Jackie. Mm-hmm. So, that was the first, like, kind of like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
And then I think a few months later, my dad is in the kitchen. I think he's talking to my brother or something. And he's drinking out of, like, a mason jar. Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, it's like a glass mason jar. Like, there's, like, no lids, nothing. Like, it's glass. The bottom falls off clean.
Huh.
Clean cut, falls off. Like, it's like someone took, like something you cut glass with, and it just, like, fell off. And he was like, I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
Like, we, like, still have the cup to be like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Like, we have no items to do this with. Like,
right.
So, that was horrifying. And, again, no explanation. There was that, which we were, like, kind of like, okay, like, a few months ago, this happened, like, what else? And then, I don't remember the time frame on this, but my dad has said he's come downstairs, and there's been, the chair just gets moved to the kitchen.
Huh.
Yeah. So, I haven't witnessed that, but I wouldn't put it past to happen.
Right. So, I guess so the mantle thing happens, it's obviously a very, like, aggressive thing.
Yeah.
And same with the cup, I guess, aggressive. But I don't know about the chair thing. It seems... I mean, obviously, like, you guys haven't gotten to the point where you're so scared that you've moved out of the house, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, so right after, like, this stuff kind of happens, like, is there, like, a conversation, like, between the family? Like, what is, like...
I'm surprised my parents didn't. I think, my mom's, like... I think she's a skeptic. Because my mom has had paranormal experiences. Like, my grandparents lived in Euclid, and my grandma said she would see, like, a man dressed in, like, a Confederate uniform, like, in her home. And then, a few years after they moved out, she told my grandfather... And he was like, I had a woman come and kiss me on the cheek a few times.
Huh.
Like, he's like, I felt, like, lips on me. And then and my mom was like, yeah, I would hear something that sounded like footsteps. And I was like, you mean footsteps? Like, those are footsteps. And I guess she, like, lived in an apartment once, and she, like, fell randomly. And my grandma was like, your mother was pushed by a ghost. And my mom was like, no, I fell. My grandma was like, you got pushed by a ghost. Like, admit it. But, yeah, it's a lot of, you'll hear your name, or when it's, like, quiet. Like, I would be trying to go to bed when I was, like, little, and I would just hear my name over and over again. And I'd just be like, I would close my eyes, that's how I'd go to bed, and I'd be because I thought if I opened them, like, someone would be there.
Right.
So, yeah, there's always, like, you never felt alone. You still don't feel alone.
Yeah. So, when she went to look up, like, the archives on, like, and found out it was a funeral home and all that, like, when was this funeral home, like, active? Like, do you know, like, when it closed down, or...
I want to say, like, maybe 1930s.
Okay.
It closed. Because it's in Detroit, Ohio City, so it's in a Victorian home. And those all, like, go back long, long time ago. So it was probably made to be a funeral home, and then it was created to be, like, just a regular home.
And then Jackie moves in,
and
God
then
knows when.
Jackie moves in, who knows when, and my sister, I was, like, telling her about this, and she's like, make sure to note that I think there's bodies in the basement. And I was like, okay, I'll sneak that in there, that you think there's bodies in the basement. Because it's like, all huge concrete slabs. And she's like, I swear, like, there's, like, bodies, like, in there.
But there's nothing left, like, in the house that, like, remains like a funeral. Like, there's no, like, morgue or anything, like, there's nothing, like, so it's a normal home.
A normal home. There is a fireplace in the basement. Don't know what that was used for. It's like a wood-burning fireplace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it was created. It, like, became more residential.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've seen things, like, has anything happened, like, because you said that, like, you hear your name, you'd see, like, the stuff walking around. Has anything else, like, sort of happened to, like, just you? Where the family's like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't do that, or...
Yeah,
weird?
definitely. There's been, like... I'm like, who's upstairs? And they're like, no one. I'm like... Or, like, one time, the toilet flushed. Like, flushed and flushed and flushed. And I was like, I'm home alone.
Yeah.
It just, like, wouldn't stop flushing. And, like... there was no plumbing going on. Like, it was just a regular day. And it just, like, kept flushing. And I was like, okay. I don't know if that's normal, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
So, the person that you saw was a man.
Yeah, it was a very tall figure. Like, it would be, like, if my eye was, like, towards that room over there. Like, I could, like, it would be, like, that's where he was.
Okay.
And, like, it's, like, broad shoulders, tall, and, yeah, it's usually a man. I think my brother said he's seen a woman, because he's like, I think I can make out a dress. But my brother, who's 18 years old, he still lives at home. At night, he refuses to to go downstairs alone when no one's there. Because he's a scaredy cat, but he's like, I know something's going to happen if I'm alone.
Yeah.
So, because I think he sees the most, because he's like a night owl.
Right.
So he will be like, I just came down the stairs and it sounds like someone's following me. I'm like, I don't live there anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I just always find, like, this stuff, like, kind of interesting, because I've never experienced anything like that at all.
Oh, really?
No, like, I mean, like, as I said, like, my mom and my sister, like, they see stuff. I guess one thing that I did experience, like, when I was younger, I won't say younger, I'll say, like, high school. Like, I had moved into the basement at that point. I'm, like, kind of a rebel. I don't want to be, like, around the rest of the family. And out of, like, the back room in our house, it was, like, where, like, the cats would sleep. So the cats were, like, always in there. So I'm used to hearing cat noises all the time. One night I heard a dog back there. but I don't know if it was just outside and like I was hearing things or whatever, but that was the only time I've ever heard anything like weird. And my house has been in my family for generations.
Oh, wow.
And so I've never owned a dog, but my dad had several when he was a kid, and they slept in that same room. So that's the only thing that I've ever heard, and I've always just attributed to, oh, it was just a dog outside or whatever, it's the middle of the night or whatever. Or,
I don't know.
but, so that's the only thing that I can recall. And my dad used to tell stories, like, when I was a kid, like, when my friends would sleep over, they're like, oh, you know this place is haunted, right? And, like, all this, like, stuff, but, yeah. So, has anyone seen Jackie in the house, or are these just, like, unknown figures, or...
I think they're unknown figures. I hope Jackie is at rest, peaceful. We just call it Jackie because, like, I don't know. We don't know what else to call it. I don't think my parents like to admit it's a ghost because I think they're like, oh, it's like childish. But I'm like,
right.
That's a ghost. Like, you cannot change my mind. But yeah, it's usually unknown figures. It's Jackie and maybe a few other people there. But I've never. I think once, I don't know. This is like a little bit unknown. I was like it was like the first year we were living there, and I was just like in my room, and I was at the end of my bed, like watching TV or something, and there was like a mirror above the TV, and on the other wall, I was like, am I making a figure of an old face, or like what is this, like. And I, like, just couldn't, like, tell if I was, like, seeing something. But I, like, was, like, starting to see, like, a face of, like, an older woman. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I was always scared to look in the mirror, to look, like, in the like, when you would, like, close the bathroom mirror from, like, a medicine cabinet. I was, like, always prepared that someone was going to be behind me.
Yeah, just like in the movies,
yeah. I was like, I would close it so slowly. Or I would just, like... close it and then, like, not look at it and walk away.
Yeah.
Or, like, same thing with the shower. But I didn't have that issue with the shower until I moved out because in my parents' bathroom is a clawfoot tub. So when you walk in, you can just, like, see that there... Like, you, like, walk in and just, like, see that there's no one in there.
Right.
Because there's, like, a little gap in between the curtains. Mm-hmm. So I never had that issue, but if I didn't have that, I would assume I did.
So I guess, like, when you were still living there, like, how frequently was stuff kind of happening?
I, like, saw people all the time. Like, I still go there and I'll see someone. But big things, like, maybe every few months.
Every few months?
Yeah, they're like, oh, they're bored. Like, let's keep them on their toes.
Yeah. Would it happen to be at, like... Because people always say there's, like, the witching hours and, like, stuff like that. Was it happen?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Go. You have... The floor's yours. Just go ahead.
To this day, I hate the witching hour. My goal when I was, like, in high school or even, like, a little bit after high school, my goal was to be asleep by then because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want to see anything. I wouldn't leave my room. Because I was so scared I was going to see something. So, like, now I know my apartment's not haunted because it doesn't feel anything like my parents' home. I don't feel, like, I feel alone there. I don't feel like an energy or anything.
But when you go in there, even if there's no one there, you feel like there's just a presence.
Yeah.
I don't know, and, like, besides, like, has it ended... Because you, obviously, like, as I said, it wasn't ever to the point where you guys packed up and, like, got out.
No.
But I guess because, like, I've heard, like, from some people's, like, experience stuff, like, it's, like, even, like, a warm, like, friendly, like, presence that's, like, in the house. Like, was it anything like that, or was it always just kind of, like, rambunctious?
I would say rambunctious, but it's definitely not warm, but not, like, dangerous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, like... If, like, I don't get creeped out when I don't feel alone, and I am. Like, I'm not like, oh, this is weird. Maybe because I'm used to it, but I'm like, someone's here.
Yeah. Did you ever have, like, sleepovers or anything, like, as a kid? Like, did any of, like, do you ever have people over and stuff happens when people are there?
I did have a sleepover in the 8th grade, and we were all at the dining room, and there's, like, a chandelier, and the lights started flickering, and I was, like, telling them how it was haunted. And I genuinely just think that was the lights, but it got a good scare out of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So, I genuinely think it was the lights, but I know, because usually when there's people over, like, nothing happens.
Nothing happens. I don't know. Do you got anything else for me? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to ask.
No, that's about it. Since I moved out, I don't think anything has happened. Anything that my siblings have told me or my parents, but yeah, I'm like kind of relieved to be out of there. But also, if I ever do buy a home, I know my first question is it haunted?
Yeah, you might have to go to the archives.
Yeah, did anyone die here? What's going on?
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, like creepy stuff. And another like interesting thing you told me, and I don't know if like the house had anything to do with this, but you told me that you wanted to be a mortician at some point.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I definitely want to be a mortician. I still think it's so interesting. Science is my worst subject, which is why I'm an art major now. I'm so bad at science, and I was like looking at like what classes I would need to take to become a mortician. It was like chemistry, and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's the house. I think it might have been like the spooky essence, like kind of like yeah, like just like the spooky essence, just like the aesthetic of it, maybe.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Have you always like sort of been into like the spooky stuff, or?
Yeah, I love Halloween. I'm so excited. But I do think that living in that house has like made me kind of like numb to that kind of stuff. Like I'm not like creeped out. Like I watch like Silence of the Lambs and I'm like, yeah, like this is scary, but I've seen like I don't know, it doesn't like do it for me.
Yeah. I don't know, like trying to think of anything else about the house or anything. So you said that like, so you're a firm believer. Your mom's really the only one that's sort of like the skeptic about everything.
Yeah, she's like, the house is settling, and I'm like, no, it's not. Those are footsteps. Like, why else would these things be happening? But yeah, I don't know if she's in denial. I think my dad is more of like, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Like, don't. My mom, though, refuses to let a Ouija board in the house. She refused. Like, my dad found one at a yard sale, and she was like, no. I'm like, no, leave it in the car. She's like, it's not coming in here.
Yeah, my parents my mom is the same way, too, because we were raised Catholic and all that
yeah,
kind
I
of
was
stuff.
raised Catholic, too.
So, yeah, it's a big no-no, and I'm just like, it's made by Hasbro, bro.
Like, yeah, I'm like, it's at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So, and then your brother's the scaredy cat. How's, like, your sister with all this kind of stuff?
I think she's the most mature. Like, I used to be really scared. Like, I would be like, can you come downstairs with me so I can get a glass of water? But I think she's the most, like, calm about it. She's like, yeah, these are here, but I'm not going to let it get to me.
And is she moved out now? Because she's in between you and your brother.
Yeah, no, she's not moved out yet, but she works a lot, so my brother's home most of the time. And she's in school and she works, but my brother, like, since he's graduated, he, like, hasn't really been doing anything because COVID. So he, like, experiences it the most. And he's, like, still scared.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, you mentioned Halloween's, like, your favorite season and all that. I guess, like, do you have any, like, good, like, Halloween stories or anything?
No, I'm pretty... Because I think it might be being raised Catholic, but we just go trick-or-treating and come home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I don't like the haunted houses.
You don't like the haunted... I was actually on Facebook today. My wife tagged me in it. It's in Medina. We might go to it. I don't know if this is in the wake of COVID-19 or if they always did this, because there was footage of it. So they've obviously done it before.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like a test run, but there is a haunted car wash.
I would do that. I feel like I'd be very safe in the car.
And you get your car washed at the same, like you go through the thing and the clowns are coming up to the window and all that.
I hate clowns.
So we might do that this year. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's not much else to really do. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, have you gone to the drive-in at all around here?
I have not this year.
Because you grew up in this area, right?
I did. I grew up in the Ohio State, Detroit, Shoreway area. So
you've been to the drive-in before?
Yeah.
Because this year was my first year at a drive-in ever, any drive-in. So that was an experience. Have you seen anything cool there?
I saw Hereditary when it came out.
That would have been insane at a drive-in.
Had a heart attack. It was, oh my god. That is, A24 scary movies are the best.
Yeah.
They're the best. Like The Witch.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
I think Midsummer is probably like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm not the biggest fan of Midsummer. I've talked about it on the show before.
Really?
But here's the thing. Like, I like parts of it, but then there's parts of it that, like, I just can't. Because, like, obviously, like, I went to school for filmmaking and, like, I'm into all that kind of stuff. But, like, there's just, like, some, like, decisions that were made in there that, like, I don't know. For me, it was a little too full of itself at times.
Okay, I can see that.
But, like, I mean, the concept of the story, like, all that's fine. It's just the filmmaking style for me was, like, a little off, I guess. A little too, but Hereditary, I love it. It's one
I
of
love Hereditary.
Definitely one of my, I think I ranked, because last year I did a top 10 modern horror movies or whatever, so Hereditary was number 2 on my list, so.
Ooh. It definitely deserves to be up there.
I love Hereditary. At the time, though, I don't know if I told you this story, but I worked on the film My Friend Dahmer.
I think you did tell me that.
So, Alex Wolff, the guy from Hereditary, is in that movie.
Yeah.
And when I went to see Hereditary, I did not know he was in this film at all. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like the whole time, and I'm just like, I can't get this guy out of my head because I'm just used to him being backstage, like screaming Nicolas Cage lines at the top of his lungs at like 2 a.m.
See, I know Alex Wolff from the Naked Brothers band.
Yes.
So that's how I see him, is the Naked Brothers band.
Yeah. But even so, I'd say about like halfway through the film, I forget that I know him.
He did such a good job in that.
Yeah, it was a really good film. And yeah, I mean, I love Halloween time, everything about it. COVID has obviously taken a lot of the fun out of this year.
Yeah.
But like now, because like you said, you used to like trick or treat and all that. But like, have you done anything like recently, like around Halloween time?
Not really, because I did the choice of going to community college. So
Yeah.
I never like went to any big Halloween bangers. Like, I just like stayed home, or I would like go to my grandparents and like help them pass out candy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just always go to my grandparents on Halloween. Like I never had a Halloween trick or treating like in my neighborhood.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's because no one participated or.
Yeah, we did trick or treating here last year, and it was my first year like trick or treating like as an adult, like by myself, like handing out the candy. Because like I would help my grandma pass out candy and stuff too, like when I was younger. But this was the first time where like it was my house and like it was insane and like. We went through all the candy, like I was, cause like back in my hometown, like I live on a street like kind of like this, like at my parents'. It's a little smaller like neighborhood and everything, but like the past few years they've been getting like 2 or 3 trick or treaters, like that's it. So like I didn't know what to expect, so like we got like a decent amount of candy last year. We went through all of it, like the house was like nonstop. I was like blasting Rob Zombie through the fucking sound system right here. All the kids were like, "What is going on right now?" But it was a good time. So this year's gonna be pretty different. But
yeah, I think based on county is that's what they're deciding, like who can trick or treat and who can't.
Yeah,
like it depends on your county, I think.
Yeah, have you seen the things on Facebook where it's like people are making like the PVC pipe like
and
shoots
they
and
just,
stuff?
Like, put candy down it.
Yeah, because like even so, like because like the easy thing to think is like put like a bowl of candy outside, but then like you kind of don't want people going all through this bowl and like touching everything either. So
because
like,
you don't know who touched it beforehand. Like they're not wearing gloves. Like you don't know.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. I don't know.
I'm going to a Halloween party, and they're like, "Yeah, we only want like 6 people there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, so it's just like a get together, and we're all wearing costumes."
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I love Halloween time. That's why I do this show every year. Excited to finally have you on to talk about your stuff. As I said, it's been since December when you first brought it up to me.
Yeah.
So I've been excited to hear it. And yeah, did you have any other stories to tell or anything? Or
Not that I can think of. I just know whenever I go there, you're never alone. I always see something. and it's like nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, hopefully everything works out for you. Hopefully nothing catastrophic happens in this house now that it's all out on the internet.
Yeah.
And everyone knows about it.
Yeah, please don't stop by.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, if that's it, then yeah, just thanks for coming on and telling your story and everything.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, that is about it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed another episode of the House of Horror podcast. As always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you are subscribing to the show, leaving me ratings and reviews, all that good stuff. I'm doing this outro unscripted as well, you guys. So yeah, I just want to try things out new. I'm always trying to do new things on the show. So yeah, definitely make sure that you guys are subscribing to the show and all of that good stuff. And yeah, so I'll see you back here on YouTube tomorrow for another episode of the House of Horror. Got another fun episode coming out tomorrow. Another book review, as you know, because it's Thursday. And yeah, so we're going to have another episode of the House of Horror podcast coming out next week with an interview and maybe some bonus episodes here and there, just some solo stuff or whatever. So should be a great time. I hope you join me along for the ride. I hope you've been enjoying all the episodes that have been coming out so far this month. And yeah, so that is about it, you guys. I'll catch you back here tomorrow on YouTube for another episode of the House of Horror and on your streaming sites whenever another episode comes out. So that's about it. I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off into the sunset. Damn, my voice is cracking all over the place. Ride off into the sunset. Is that better? Is that better for you guys? So yeah, I'm going to wrap up this show. I'll see you guys when I see you. So as always, take care and stay spooky.